Oh, alrighty, sports fans, welcome on in. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Of course, I'm not Spence Checketts. I don't even know where Spence is right now. He wouldn't tell me. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in. They said, bring in the lefty. We need the lefty to come in, fill in for Spence today. We are here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles, 10673 South State Street here in Sandy. Oh, man, I'm excited about this. You have no idea how excited I am to be here because I brought fan mail. I actually have fan mail. I have fans. I have proof. They're not relatives. They're not even from Utah. They're from all over the place. Kansas, Missouri, Maryland, Texas, Michigan. And I want to open up some of my fan mail while I'm here today. So this place is awesome. All right, very cool. Very cool place. You come in, buy, sell cards, memorabilia, all kinds of stuff. Come down here. I'll say hi. I do not bite. And if I do, it's like a little nibble. Like it's an enjoyable bite, so it's not hurtful. Anyways, come on down today. We got some QR codes. The NCAA tournament's right around the corner here, and you can fill out your $1 million bracket. And you'll have a chance to win $100 here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. You get a $100 gift certificate, and you can purchase. I think you can purchase half of my rookie card for $100. So you'd have to. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't know if I want to know what my actual cards are because I don't know. It'd probably bum me out, right? You're worth 12 cents. Like if that's actually what I was worth, I would be a little bit nervous. I'll just tell you that right now. I'd be a little bit nervous, and I don't want that to happen. Okay, fun show today. I'm so excited to be here. We're going to talk more with the owners, Chris and Michelle here, and you're going to get some really good ideas about what they do here. They've got some fun stuff, things you can interact. So it's a really, really neat place. Really cool what they got going on here. So come on down. It's 106th South and just a little bit extra. So 106th and 73. So just south of 106th South on the east side of the road. Can't miss us. Can't miss them here in Sandy. So come on down. Okay. We have Sam Brockhouse. He's going to come on and talk about some NFL stuff, both college and NFL. Of course, Tony Jones is going to join us today and talk about some of the crazy things going on with the Utah Jazz. Neil Smith, not the Neil Smith that gives me nightmares. The Neil Smith from the NHL is actually going to join us, not the Neil Smith from the Kansas City Chiefs. I wonder if he still wears the breathe right on his nose. And then Jason Batako is going to join us from the Tribune talking about the Utah Utes. Actually, some interesting things going on with the Utes. Interesting things going on in the world of sports. Why is it that everything seems to revolve around money? Do you have an answer for me, Porter, or are you just happy to be here today?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Are you happy to be here, or are you?
The official stance from the Drive is that we know, Scott, the man with the gold makes the rules. So
true. Yes.
That's a simplified view of it, but
yes.
it kind of does always boil down to it in the current society we live.
Yeah, so cash is king, and whoever has the cash is the king. I get it. I understand that world, but it's just it's crazy money today. Like I almost feel like fantasy sports has actually taken over sports. Like it's all so ridiculously crazy the money they talk about with these players. I mean, you have Deshaun Watson, for example. Deshaun Watson, they had to restructure his deal, and I'm not sure what that means. I'm gonna find out. from Sam what he thinks it means. Is that the end of Deshaun Watson? Does that mean they're going to keep him around because he re-injured his Achilles, and so now he's out and probably won't play a significant part of this season. He's played 19 games between injuries and suspensions since they paid him a guaranteed $250 million. And so they're actually going to go and redo his deal. And all just so you know, when they redo your deal, which they just give you money up front, and they call it a signing bonus, and so they can spread out your contract, and then it reduces their numbers, so they actually have money to go out in the world of free agency and sign players. And usually it's reserved for a player they like. And I just wonder, how much do the Cleveland Browns really like Deshaun Watson? Like, there was a phrase they used to have in the NFL, and it's like, you showed up with a Brinks truck and you basically robbed them, right? Because you just stole the money. And then you stole the money because you never played. Like, you took the money, you didn't deserve it. Of course, does anyone really ever deserve the money? I mean, really? It's just kind of like, because it's like they sign a quarterback, like let's just say Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, and those guys are making more money than, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allen, and so who really deserves the money? And it's just like, my agent told me something a long time ago, and it's very true. Sign short-term contracts, because you always want to be able to strike when the iron's hot. And so you get your little window, and like you get your rookie deal is over, and you now have an opportunity to make a lot of money. You want to have the flexibility in your deal, so that when you're playing well, you're going to get paid, and you're going to get paid the best dollar amount for the going rate of the day. And it's like the ACC and their grant of rights. Like, that was the dumbest deal that might be the dumbest deal in all of sports, where they basically signed their soul. There's no flexibility to like renew or get a better deal. That to me is someone who says, yeah, I'm not really confident in my abilities, and so I'm just going to take what I can get today, and we're going to call it good. And here's another one. I think it's interesting. A couple of places here about coaches, right? So the University of Utah, it looks like Alex Jensen, who is a bench coach for the Mavs right now, who's been a longtime NBA assistant, and one of the the players of the golden era, the golden age of the Utah Utes basketball program, is going to come back and coach. And then, of course, Dan Lanning. And, well, so I'm curious about Alex in the sense that, like, he's a guy that wants to be like an NFL guy, right? He wants to be not an NFL, an NBA guy, right? And so it's like, do I really want to go back to my college? And see, I think he went back because I think they made a promise that they were going to put money into the program, meaning they were going to pay the players. It seems to have been working down south with some of the players and of course, the coach, who's at BYU. But it's all about the Benjamins. Do we even call it Benjamins anymore? People understand. What's the term for like money these days? What is it?
Man,
help me out, Porter.
They could be getting Bitcoin. They could be getting
Bitcoin.
They could be getting gold. I don't even know,
gold?
Scott. I don't even know. There's plenty of different terms. Those greenbacks.
Yeah. Well, speaking
moolah.
Speaking of greenbacks, the Oregon Ducks, because they're kind of green, right? They are nearing a deal with Dan Lanning that will pay him $11 million a year. So this is what I mean. It's just all about money. Like, I want to go to a program where I'm going to get paid a lot of money, whether I'm a coach or whether I'm a player, or just it's all about the money. And this was a really hard thing for me, Porter. When I went from a very, very poor college student, and I mean poor, like $100. If I got $100 extra a month, I felt like I was the richest man in the world.
Get you a steak dinner.
Yes, and that $100 would last me like a month and a half, because I ate at McDonald's instead of a steak dinner. But then you go into the business of sports, and it just changes everything. Like, and it really, it really is what is the driver. NCAA football is driven by money, and the money comes from the networks, and the networks pay money, and everybody. We got them QR coding right here. Come down and QR code overtime cards and collectibles, and you get to enter. Hey, you could get $100 in a gift card here. Anyways, we got people QR coding. So come on down. We're at State Street and 10673 South State Street in Sandy, and so somebody's gonna win $100, and then they get to sign up for the $1 million fan bracket package. But so the question is, for me, it was like, you have to wrap your brain up around, I'm a business, right? I'm a business, and I need to act accordingly. And it's a hard thing because you just love sports, right? And the secret is, can I still find that love and that passion, and also understand the business side of everything that's going on? Because it's a real thing in sports, and some guys have a hard time getting over, we play sports because we love them. Now, I think people would play sports if there wasn't any money involved. I feel like you're all taking selfies at me, but you're not. They're just QR coding. So, yeah, if you can imagine, there's probably 35 people in the line. It's crazy. It's frenzied right here. Oh, hey, we have Deshaun Watson haters here. So, the whole place erupted in disdain for Deshaun Watson. So you got to learn how to understand the money. And you got to understand how to play, because, like, I think Dan Lanning's worth $1 million a year, or $11 million a year. I really do. I think whatever they paid Alex Jensen, whatever they're going to pay him, I think it's worth it to Utah. I will just tell you this: whenever someone gets paid, and I'm not here to be the judge of who gets paid and who doesn't get paid, all I say is congratulations for you, right? Congratulations for you, because you deserve it. You get to go and you get a strike when the iron's hot, and when it's hot, man, you need to strike, and you don't need to apologize for any of it. It's a funny world in professional sports. There's like these tiers, There's like, well, you make it in the NFL, that's pretty freaking good. You make it in some sport, but then there's like the superstars, and it's like, it's just a weird thing. It's like, man, if you made it in professional sports, good for you. Whatever it is. Well, good for you in whatever you do in your life. It doesn't just have to be there. So I just think it's fascinating. And I don't know why I got on this today, but it just really struck me. Like, I was just really like, oh my goodness. It's like everyone's getting paid. I mean, you look at the Utah Hockey Club, they extend their players. They extended 4 or 5 players here. Everybody's wheeling and dealing. Trade deadlines coming up here in hockey, and I don't know. It's just one of those things. I just really think that we're pretty close here having one of the owners from Overtime Cards and Collectibles come and chat with us. So we'll get them down here. But fun show today. Great to be a part of what's going on here on the drive. I'm Scott Mitchell. I'm sitting in for Spence today. All right. We're here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. Chris. Oh, my goodness. Okay. I can't hear Chris. I don't hear Chris at all. Am I coming in clear?
All right. How are we going there, guys?
We go.
There we are.
Oh, that's
What's going on, Scott? What's going on ESPN 700?
Well, you know, we're here.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we're at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. Tell me something. How much am I worth? So I brought.
All right. So let's go back to. I just brought up a bunch. Yeah. So it's cards.
Mail.
Oh, you brought. Oh, yes.
I actually have
yes.
legitimate fan mail, and I'm trying to figure out, like, because I'm going to send these back to these people.
Oh,
so
yes.
I sign them, send them back. Is it worth more with a card if you sign it or not?
No, it is worth more than it's signed.
So it's more if it's signed.
Yep. So your score rookie card, as we see right here.
Yes.
Utah legend right there, number 1919. That sells for raw, as you'll be seeing, around $3 to $5.
$3 to $5.
So then.
All right. So I made over. I thought it was
Yes.
going to be like 30 cents. Okay.
Nope. So you're that. Then
So
if it grades very well.
Oh.
So there's a grading system from the PSA 10, 9, 8.
Gotcha.
So then that goes, if it grades higher, you're looking around $40 to $50.
Ooh.
Then if it's authentic auto, then
Ooh.
your auto jumps up to more the value.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So we've been pulling out your cards, hoping out that. So,
Okay.
These are
This
some cool
card,
ones.
my brother-in-law bought 3,000 of these. My rookie year. And I think
Really?
he paid 30 cents a card.
Oh,
And he goes, This is gonna be like the it's gonna be the like my kids' college fund.
Yes.
Right? So he's like, you better play good. And I have one rookie card of the Dolphins.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do have one of me.
Well,
in the
I did
NFL.
bring a stack, so we should go through these cards. I know that we can kind of look through
Oh
them.
yeah. So fun. So we're sitting here going through all of my trading cards. I don't know that you know this.
Yeah.
So every one of these cards.
Yeah.
So I believe there were 96 cards that were made of me during my NFL career, and the card company, whenever they made a card, they give me 100.
Yes.
So I have tens of thousands of cards,
Oh.
but they give me 100 of me, and then they give me the whole series. So I have.
That's a lot different now than it is. Yeah, they don't do that now.
Yeah, and so I have, like, pretty much every Hall of Famer, every great player from my era. I have multiple cards of, like, all of them.
That's awesome.
I actually looked through it once, and I think I found there were like 24 Hall of Famers in just one box. So it was a really cool deal. Okay, so help me out here. Tell me what you get, because you guys got some crazy, amazing stuff going on here as far as activities or things that people can come and do. You have different parties. What do you got going on?
All right, so our next big event that we got is going to be our trade night, which is going to be March 15th. So that's going to be from 5 to 7. So that's our next big event. Then we do have Mikhail Sergachev is going to be here on March 21st for our in-store signing. And then the biggest thing that we're trying to do here is our bracket challenge. This is going to be our coolest thing. This is NCAA. This is what you do. We got 4 TVs. We're going to be going live. The whole tournament will be live. You come out here, you do your lunch, do your dinner. We'll have little refreshments here, and we got a bunch of stuff going on.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah. So it's going to be
so
great.
how is like the Utah Hockey Club? What's been the interest of the players in memorabilia?
It's
like, what's the hot memorabilia for Utah HC?
It has been mind-blowing, honestly, from all the different sweaters, from the jerseys. The card collecting now is going up. Their first Utah Hockey Club cards just came out here yesterday. So those have been a great hit. We've sold numerous ones of those. The fan base has been fantastic, very authentic, genuine. It's amazing, and so that's been our biggest takeaway is having them involved with the state and going there, and it's been mind-blowing to exciting to everything through.
Hey, we're going to be here from 2 to 5, so come on down, really, and sign up for the bracket challenge. If you have a card, right, you can actually tell people, give them an on-the-spot value of cards they have, and give them. So you may be the possessor of A million? Is there $1 million card?
Not a million, but we got some
shoot.
close. Yeah, I wish there was, but no, we got some that are worth thousands and thousands.
Yeah, so if you have something, come on down. They'll let you know. And really cool place. So happy to be here. Thank you so much, Chris. We're gonna chat some more. So, how do you say it? What's the best way to say it? 10673 South State Street, right here in Murray, on the east side of State Street, just south of 106 South. So come on down, sign up, check everything out. Very cool stuff. I'm going to find out how much my fan mail is worth here in a minute. This is The Drive with Spence Checketts, ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts. I'm not Spence. I'm Scott Mitchell. We're here, ESPN 792.1 FM, at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. Okay, I kid you not, I just had this conversation with Randy. Randy's a dude, right? He's an Aggie. He literally walked in the door right now with a cart, like full of cards. So he's gonna have his cards checked out. It's really cool. I mean, it is like it's like one of those dollies, and he's got hundreds of these cards. Apparently, he's got a Ken Griffey rookie card. So really cool stuff. Come on down. We're here from 2 to 5. You can get your cards checked out. You can get you can scan in QR code to enter the fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge here on ESPN. And there's also a drawing. You can get $100 towards memorabilia here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. 10673 South State Street here in Sandy. And I'll even say hello to you for what that's worth, because I love people, love fans, and love to have you. So the show goes on. We have joining us right now Sam Brookhouse. He's with Sumer Sports. Of course, he was a Tulane linebacker, just got back from the NFL Combine. And we have severe hail outside as we are joined by Sam. Sam, how are you? Welcome to the program.
I'm doing well. Thank y'all for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you here on the drive. I really want to start here with the Combine, right? So you just got back from the Combine, and I have a couple of questions. But first of all, so what? Because things kind of shift, or they kind of solidify themselves after the Combine. You get pro days, you have all this stuff. What is kind of maybe moved on the needle about draft order, players? What's kind of the big news after the Combine?
I think the most interesting thing we've kind of seen is threefold. The first is the guys, particularly in the edge market, who have put up really big numbers, notably Shamar Stewart and James Pierce, kind of had interesting trajectories. Shamar Stewart has seen a shoot upwards, given his size and his ability to show his athletic traits on the field in Indianapolis. He's now about 15th on the consensus big board. Earlier on in the draft season, he was more in the 20s, late first round type guy. He shot up. And then you look at James Pierce, it kind of shows the flip side of the Combine. This is a time where everyone can interview. There were questions about teams asking him about character concerns, and that's a very key element of the Combine, is asking those types of questions. And he's kind of remained still despite having, an 80th, 90th percentile Combine performance. So it's been interesting to see how it shakes out, especially given some teams don't even put any value in the Combine anymore. In fact, the Los Angeles Rams really didn't even send any of their executives this year. That's concurrent with a trend that they've been doing for the past couple of years. So it's interesting to see how it shakes out. It seems like it's more tied to the news and noise and rumors that are coming out of these team interviews than the actual showing on the field.
It's interesting because when I played in the NFL, I hated the Combine. I'll just tell you right now, it was like the worst experience of my life. And every so I was drafted by the Miami Dolphins, and every year Coach Shula they called it the mini Olympics, right? And so you went through and did all the Combine tests. So you did the bench press, you did the shuttles, you did the 40s, and then we ran for 12 minutes. And you just ran around the football fields for like 12 minutes. And everyone said, like, what's the value in this? Like where because I'm fascinated by the Rams, and I know that they're looking at different metrics here. Do you see that as a trend that's kind of moving? Because you also hear, okay, fine, the Combine marks all these like athletic traits, but they can't tell, does the guy have a heart? Does the guy have a sense for football? Does he have a football IQ? And you've seen great examples of this with players through the years. So is that a trend that's changing, or what different types of things are teams, specifically the Rams, looking at to gauge and evaluate players?
Yeah, so we're big into data here at Sumer Sports, and what the data shows is that the correlation between these events and the actual production on field really is minimal at best. But on the flip side, as a data scientist, there's such few data points that we really do have to track these college players on their way to the pros. We can look at their production, but there's so much context. Did the player go to a place like Utah State, or were they in the big leagues in the Pac-12 or in the Big 12 like Utah? There's so many questions that come along with production that it's kind of hard to look back in history and understand what was going on. We now have the tracking data, which is very key, but we only have a couple of years, given that the technology has just now evolved to that spot. The combine has been going on for decades, and as a result, it has a very deep, rich, and uniform backlog of data that is somewhat helpful. But as a result, because we have that big backlog, we've been able to find out that the numbers just don't mean that much, except for, a few key items like tight ends. They have to be a certain level of athlete, a certain threshold of athlete to be good at the next level. Makes sense because they have to receive and block. There's a couple of places where it's even close to like a 50% correlation, but that's very low in terms of correlation to begin with, pretty close to uncorrelated. And as a result, we try to take what we can from it, but we all understand as data scientists that it just is not something that you want to pin your whole evaluation on. That's why with these guys like Shamar Stewart and James Pierce and some of the other running backs in particular, when they shoot all the way up the board, I tend to be really, really skeptical of whether that's a good evaluation.
Okay. I have a suggestion for some data analytics. And maybe you do this, maybe you don't. And so maybe I'm going to give you an idea here, because this was and again, it wasn't scientific. It was just my observation from my time playing. And so I played in the NFL 12 years. And every year, like, new guys that come in, and you always go, yeah, that guy can play. That you knew, like, very quickly whether guys were going to make it or not. And not necessarily to what degree, but just that they were going to make the team or not. And one of the things I noticed through the years is there was a decent number of players from big-time programs who were massively athletic, who really struggled. They didn't. It was almost like you go, oh, this is a surefire guy because he played here and he's this and he's all that. And I saw a decent number of those guys who didn't make it. I'm curious, do you track data like that, or am I throwing something new out at you that maybe you might consider watching? And my theory, before you answer, is they were always just better athletes than most of the people they were against, and so they never really learned like the craft. They didn't learn the art of their position. They didn't learn, and they didn't realize that like everybody at the NFL is really good. And if you're going to succeed, if you're going to have you've got to really understand. You can't just out-athlete people. I mean, there's a couple, Barry Sanders, maybe a Deion Sanders, a few of these guys could do it, but most guys, you had to really be a master of your craft. Is that something that am I telling you something new, or is this something you actually track? Or am I crazy?
I think you hit the nail on the head here. It's never clean when it comes to the data, and that's why at Sumer Sports we try to blend the subjectiveness. You talked about the heart, the IQ, the understanding of the game with the actual evaluation of the tracking data, how they're moving on the field and how fast they're moving, and their production, which we can get down, again, to the tracking level. We can get down to how they finish after 2 seconds on a pass rush, when you really got to dig deep and try that second effort and stuff like that. But I think you really nailed it on the head. Looking at the data, typically the STAR system from the 247 ratings typically is pretty good, but it's just that, pretty good. There's probably like 25% or more of those guys who are looked out at big-time recruits who have immense athleticism and just can't make it at the next level, because everyone at the next level, as you well know, and I'm sure you can talk about a lot better than me, just me being a college guy, has the athleticism to succeed at the college level, the athleticism to succeed at the pro level, and the IQ to succeed at the pro level, which in my mind is like 100x what it is at the college level. You're dealing with guys who had been in the league for 10, 15 years. They've seen everything. They've done everything. I think about all those Patriots guys, or even Joe Tooney, who just got traded, for example, from the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a Patriot guy too. Can you imagine all the things that guy had seen that, a young strapping defensive tackle hasn't even a concept of when he's going up against him. And so that's really the difference. And the guys who can kind of pick up on it quick, Jaden Daniels is a great example of this. He was able to use VR to kind of get himself up to speed at the next level. He used it like 2x speed, and that helped him out a little bit. But it's good to notate who the guys that can do that are, but it's really a crapshoot, and it's something that we like to use our subjective analysis coming from our scouts and general managers to get a better sense of, but it's really, really difficult.
Yeah, it almost seems like if you maybe don't get all the data right, but if you can figure out just something like a little tweak or something that just gives you a little bit of an advantage over other people. Like you can look at the data and you can draw something out from it that maybe other people aren't, and just because I would imagine just a little bit of a bump, like the Rams, because they really bucked a trend. I remember them talking about this, and it wasn't so much about someone's speed. It was about their speed on a football field, right? That they could get, and they used Cooper Kupp as the example. Like what makes him so good is he gets from point A to point B as fast, if not faster, than anyone around. And so evaluating those data points proved to be more valuable than maybe a traditional way of looking at it.
Yeah, and here's an interesting trend just talking about the Rams, which I'm going to be deeply tracking in the next couple years, given the rise of the transfer portal at the college level. The Rams have 4 guys on their defensive line, all 4 transferred up a level at the college level, and we're able to be really successful. We talk about Braden Fisk coming from, I believe it was Western Michigan he came from, to Florida State. All of a sudden, he's an All-American level player. Jared Verse, who was, a Rookie of the Year candidate this year, he transferred up to Florida State from Albany. And then you have guys like Byron Young and Kobe Turner, who transferred up from various different locations as well. I'm wondering if they picked up on something there. Maybe it was a little bit more subjective. They like guys who can overcome and succeed at the Power 5 level after doing it at a lower level. But I'm wondering if we're not going to see more than that, particularly at those offensive and defensive line positions, which require such a high level of IQ at the NFL level, despite not necessarily needing it at the college level, where you can kind of out-athlete people.
That's an interesting observation, because so I'm out here in Utah and the color analyst for Utah football, and been doing it for about 8 years, and so I've had a chance to watch some of these players, specifically Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, and even Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels was actually initially recruited, and he committed to Utah, and then he decided to go to Arizona State. And I remember watching Jaden as a freshman, and he looked terrible. Like, I was like, I'm not really all that impressed with him, and he was just and you talk about, he transferred to LSU, and he was really good. And Cam Ward, came from Incarnate Word and went to Washington State, and I watched him at Washington State. I'm like, oh, okay, he's okay. I mean, he's real raw and all this stuff. And then he went again to Miami, and just you saw that if it was part of transferring, because I'm thinking of my own experience, and I know, like, when I went from high school to college, that transition, going to a new program, boy, that was so hard. Like like my freshman year of college was terrible, and it was actually easier transitioning the second time. When I went into the NFL, even though it was harder, the transition to it was actually a little bit easier. And I wonder if there's some of that involved, where you get used to, and you kind of the mystery of new places kind of wears off. Or I think of, I went in the NFL and I was a quarterback, played behind Dan Marino for my first
P5 school, Arizona State, to P5 school. Joe Burrow didn't really get a chance to play, but he was at Ohio State. Then he went to LSU. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are going to be an interesting test case, because, like you said, Ward succeeded at the FCS level, at the Pac-12 level, at the ACC level. This is a dude who has succeeded at the lowest rung of college or major college football to the highest rung of major college football. And it's really the same thing with Shedeur Sanders. At Jackson State, immensely successful. And again, Incarnate Word, I'm from South Louisiana. I grew up in Southland WAC country, and I grew up around all the HBCUs, and Jackson State and Incarnate Word are not the easiest places to win by any means. I mean, there's some powerhouses in those conference that bully those teams from year to year, and they were able to turn those programs around and really win. And then you look at Shedeur Sanders too. You know, all the discussion of did he interview well? Didn't he interview well? Well, I know one thing. He turned Jackson State around. It really turned the whole college around with his dad as well. And then he went to Colorado, really a piss-poor team. All of a sudden, now they're in contention for a Big 12 title this year. I mean, like, at some point we just got to look at the record and understand that this dude clearly has at least some ability to lead a program, given he's done it twice in two different pretty difficult scenarios.
So I was going to ask you about Shedeur because I've also been around him a little bit and interviewed him, and I actually found him to be cocky, right? I did. I was like, wow, this kid's pretty brash, you know. It's like whatever, and I wasn't rubbed the wrong way. And Cam Ward, very different, like very different personalities, different mindsets, and it's kind of fun to be able, you know, because you have a one-on-one personal interview with these guys for a decent amount of time. And Shedeur was pretty, you know, he's pretty arrogant. I'll leave it at that. How much of though really do NFL teams buy into that? And there, you know, there's been some discussion about that maybe being a knock on him. I'm just curious what your thoughts are about, you know, a player with a little bit of an attitude or confident. How do teams rate that, or how do teams evaluate a person's confidence level or their personality for that?
Yeah, so as a core data scientist, this is something that we can't really measure, and frankly, we like to stay out of a little bit because, as you mentioned, it can kind of become a he said, she said, or a team throwing smoke about something, and then a snowball falls, and all of a sudden a guy starts tumbling down draft boards or tumbling up draft boards, depending on how it goes. I just think it's interesting in general because a general manager is not just building a football team, he's building a culture. And Thomas Dimitroff talks about this all the time, about how he learned the different types of culture from the Patriot paradigm when he was there, and then his own attitudes, thoughts, and beliefs when he went down to the Falcons. Our president here at Sumer Sports and a close mentor of mine. And so you really have to build a culture and a workplace that allows a team to go well. And you know that well as a former quarterback. You got to be able to command the huddle and have the respect of the guys around you. And I think that is key. I do wonder about how well we can predict that at any given point in time. And one thing I also note about Shedeur, you mentioned the arrogance, and maybe that comes from prime time, baby. Like, you know, his dad was like that back in the 80s and 90s, and it brings a certain air of confidence. But I think something that people don't recognize now is all of these players coming in are professional athletes. They've had to deal with agents.
Sure.
They've had to deal with money. They've had to deal with all the noise that comes with those two things. And I think, you know, the hoop to jump through to being an NFL athlete with big money and a full schedule of football is a lot less than it used to be even 4 or 5 years ago, back when I was playing, because now these guys are pretty much fully professional, jumping teams every year, agents going out and taking offers and having to negotiate for themselves and their value. I think it's just much less of a hoop to jump through, and I really think it's going to end up resembling more basketball, where maybe every once in a while we'll get a guy who is way off the reservation. But for the most part, they're pretty well media trained and pretty professional coming into the NBA. I think it's going to start resembling that a little bit more than the tales of yore of the guys jumping to the NFL.
Hey, Sam, I have really enjoyed this. I really have. It's given me a lot to think about. I think it's really cool what you're doing, and I've just had a great time here. Thanks for coming on the show, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, there you go, Sam Brookhouse with Sumer Sports. They're all about the data, and it's always all about the data, right? The data, that's what drives everything. We're here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles, 106 to 73 South State Street in Sandy. So just south of 106 South on the left side of the road. I have Chris, one of the owners here, and this is Utah's premier trading card destination. Right, it's and you have memorabilia, you have all kinds of great stuff. I guess you even have Pokemon cards. That's correct. So I just saw Randy come in here, and he dropped off like I don't know. I felt like it was a Brinks truck. Came in here with a big old dolly, and he had all these boxes full of cards. So what are you gonna do with his cards?
So he brings in, so we've been building this relationship with each other, and so we've been bringing in some sealed wax from, your 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and now he's bringing in some sets. And so, and we're just purchasing, and we're helping him out throughout his time, and going through the cards, and there's a great value of all those different ones. So it's been awesome.
Okay, I'm just telling you, I have probably over 10,000 cards. Most of them I haven't ever even opened, and this is back from the early '90s, all the way through 2000. I'm coming in here. I'm bringing my box. I'm going to go get my own dolly. I'm going to bring everything in here. So you guys have the game day breaker station. Tell me what that is.
So our RIP station right here. So this is where all of our customers do come in. They buy their packs, they buy their boxes. It could be from Pokemon to Sports to Marvel to all different cards, and they come and rip and have a great time. And we like to highlight their hits on our Instagrams, Facebook, social medias, and it's just a part. The RIP station's beauty of it is the community, is building the community of having everyone see them open up the cards, the excitement of seeing what kind of hits. We've had a couple huge hits lately. A couple of our birthday boys. One was a 10-year-old for his birthday. Speaking of the big cards, we hit a Victor Wembanyama gold vinyl.
Oh.
That card's north of $15,000 for his 10th birthday. And
so he just came in and just ripped the pack open.
So
bam.
Me and his dad, we go back throughout our days.
Oh my goodness.
And he came in. He's getting back into collecting. And then just yesterday, a 12-year-old for his birthday hit a Cade Cunningham autograph.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a lot of awesome cards have been ripped, and this is where the excitement happens.
So you host parties and things like that. You have an event room
parties, birthday parties, kids camps. We've hosted. One of our friends had a little bachelor party, ended the bachelor party here, opened up some packs and did a fantasy draft. I'm trying to think. Gosh, we have so many. The kids just ripped a jersey, got a Jalen Green, Fanatics under wraps. So there's just we have all different events. Like I said, our next trade night's March 15th, and we're always hosting. We got RIP stations, RIP room. We stream live on Whatnot. So a lot of cool things, and then we got player events, signings and all that.
Great place. You got to come check it out. Come by right now because you can do a little QR code. We've had people coming in here. They can sign up for the $1 million bracket challenge right here that we're hosting, and also you can put your name in and for a drawing and get a $100 gift card right here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles, and that will, depending on my rookie card, you could buy one of my rookie cards for that $100 if you wanted. And you know what? Look, if you come down and I have one, I just might give you one for free, just because I'm a nice person, and apparently. If I sign it, it's worth more.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I have to sign my name, though, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. or you can make it personalized and whatever you want to write to.
Can I tell you a little trading card secret?
Yeah.
Well, because I'd be curious, like, how do you know, like, an authentic, signature? Let's just say one of the really, really famous quarterbacks that I played with.
Yes.
The equipment manager signed his name better than he did. And so if someone said, could you get me so-and-so's autograph? Sure, no problem. Because you didn't want to bother him because, he's big time.
Yes.
So you just go to the equipment manager and say, hey, could you sign this? And he would. He had it down like perfect. It was like so how do you know?
Well, I know that they, like for us, we send them off to PSA, and they have their own people that make sure the autographs are authentic. And so, yes, that story is nice and valid, though, the one that you're talking about. And so, yes, so there is.
So you're aware of that?
Oh, yeah, very aware of that one. Very aware. And so, but that's kind of where they get paid the big bucks. You do see from the Michael Jordans to his autograph is, very, I don't know. I don't want to say authentic and non-authentic, and so at the same point. So there's a few of those.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. All right, we appreciate you coming and spending some time with us, Chris, and of course, Chris will be back in just a minute. Come on down, 10673 South State Street here in Sandy. Overtime Cards and Collectibles, and got a lot going on here. And join, sign up for the bracket challenge, get your $100 gift card. This is ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. The Drive with Spence Checketts. I'm Scott Mitchell. Coming around the corner, we got old Tony Jones going to talk a little Jazz. Jazz had a massive victory last night They lost to the worst team in the NBA. We're going to talk about that and more here on The Drive. Sports fans, welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence today. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Of course, we're the proud partner of Utah's ESPN Sports Network. We are also at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. Very cool place, right here in Sandy, 106 South, just south of 106 South on the left side of the road. Can't miss it. Cool stuff. They have events. They have all kinds of things. In fact, they just had a boy who got a $15,000 card. He ripped it open, and it was a Victor Wembanyama card, and he did that for his birthday. So he gets a pack. You rip it open. In fact, the next time Chris is on, they have given me a pack here, and I'm going to rip it open. So come on down. You can sign up here for the fan ESPN $1 Million Bracket Challenge, and also enter to win a $100 gift card here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. Joining us now on the program is Tony Jones, who covers the Jazz, the Nuggets, and the NBA for The Athletic. Tony Jones, welcome to the program. How you doing?
My guy, how are you?
I am living the dream. Before we get into this momentous victory that the Jazz had last night by losing, I need you to help me understand, what does it mean to be Brooklyn and Philly raised?
So I spent 10 years of my childhood in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And the first 2 years of my high school education. And the last 2 years of high school, when my mother got a job at the Philadelphia Daily News, I spent it in Philadelphia. And, played ball, and then obviously went on to become an adult. And here I am right now.
The reason I ask you that is because I hate Philly fans. They some of the worst experiences I've had in my sports career have been in Philadelphia. My family actually had to leave a football game because the fans were so they were pretty rambunctious. Let's just put it that way. They were kind of afraid for their life, and they felt like maybe we should leave the game here for our own safety. I'm just trying, and I have friends in Philadelphia, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around this Super Bowl champion city, Philadelphia Eagles, and I need to understand it. I don't want to hate the fans, Tony. I want to understand how I can love all of the people from the city of brotherly love.
Well, you can hate the fans all you want to. I hate the fans. I'm not a Philly fan. So my allegiances go this way. I am a New York Mets fan. I am a Washington Commanders fan.
Oh.
I am a Georgetown Hoyas fan, and I am a New York Knicks fan.
Okay.
So, I have, tons of, high school buddies. Two of my best friends are guys that went to Roman Catholic with me in Philly. Those are Philly fans, and I fight with them all the time. So, if you want to hate Philly fans, you have carte blanche in the world of Tony Jones to hate on Philly fans.
And they're probably happy that people hate them, so I'm sure it's all good. So
they're not nice. They're not nice people.
They are not.
They're not nice people at all.
They are not nice people. And I grew up in a small little town in Utah. Like, we barely had a stoplight, so I everyone was just nice, and it was a big shock to me to go out into the big giant world of professional sports. I'll just tell you that. Last night the Jazz had a big win in losing. It's a weird thing to say. I'm just trying to wrap my head around all of this. What does last night's win mean for the Jazz moving forward, and where are these last 20 games for the Jazz as far as finishing up the season? What really needs to happen for the Jazz, I guess, to be in a good position moving forward in their big rebuild?
I think last night was almost as perfect a night as you could get if you were a Jazz fan, in terms of what you got out of that game. In terms of, you see Kyle Filipowski continue in his development, and right now with the way he's playing, you can see a world where he someday becomes an offensive engine in the NBA. Now, defense is another story with him, but offensively, he is he's starting to become terrific. And the same thing with Isaiah Collier. I like that he had some more reps on the ball last night in terms of, being able to go and create his own shot. I know that, the front office has been, on him, telling him to look at the rim when he gets into the paint, when he gets paint touches, things like that. And, then, they were competitive and then they lost the game. And, you lose the game. You do whatever you can at this point to put yourself in position to get as many ping pong balls as possible, because there are two prizes in this draft. One is Cooper Flagg, one is Dylan Harper. But Cooper Flagg is really the prize in this draft. He is a terrific basketball player, and I think that if he goes to the right place, and I think the Jazz are one of those right places, I think that team could get a lot better in a short period of time.
So what do the Jazz have to do? I guess the question I want to ask you is, what is the impact of a lottery pick player like this? I don't believe this has ever happened for the Utah Jazz, and what is the impact? What does it mean for us as Jazz fans to actually be in a position and to actually have it happen, to get that generational talent? What is the long-term impact of that?
Well, I think the first thing is understanding what Flagg is as a player, and he's a guy that pretty much does everything. He can score it, he can rebound it, he can pass it, he can do all three things. He's 6'9". He can play, power forward. He can play small forward. Defensively, he can guard all the way through a lineup. Almost, I think he can guard at least three positions, maybe four. And he's a supercomputer in terms of basketball IQ. And he's a guy that if you watch him at Duke, and don't watch the loud things that he does, watch the little things that he does. When you watch the little things that he does, he affects almost every single play of every game in some way on both ends of the floor. He is a true 6'9", two-way star who can really, make a team better just by being out there on the floor. The knock against him, which I don't think is unfair, is that he's not your traditional number one option where you're not going to be able to put the ball in his hands in the last 5 minutes of the game and say, go ahead and take us to the promised land. You might need somebody else for that part. But through the first 43 minutes, he's going to get you 25 points, 10 rebounds, 6 or 7 assists. He's going to have 3 steals, and he's going to have 2 block shots. And, he's going to affect, all of those 43 minutes. I talked to a GM, and he describes him as prime Andrei Kirilenko on steroids. And if you remember prime Andrei Kirilenko,
right?
Prime Andrei Kirilenko on steroids is a really, really, really good basketball player. And I think there's a major difference between Kirilenko and Cooper Flagg mentally. Cooper Flagg's a dog. Like, he is a real, real dog. And he's an insane competitor. So if you put that with the Jazz and you say, okay, the Jazz get the number 1 pick, they get to draft Cooper Flagg, you're all of a sudden rolling out a front court that looks like this. Lauri Markkanen, Cooper Flagg, Walker Kessler, with Kyle Filipowski and Taylor Hendricks coming back. All of a sudden, you go from, a team that's winning 15, 16 games to one of the better front courts in the NBA instantly. So, I think that's, what the front office realizes. And I think, I think that, if the Jazz were to get the number 1 pick and were to be able to draft Cooper Flagg, I think you can see a world where they're contending for a playoff team within 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, an interesting scenario. Why do you think that? Well, let me go this way because I don't understand. Like you talk about in a couple of years, and you mention all this, and I'm wondering what kind of impact is losing all the time? What kind of impact does it have on the psyche of players and coaches? Like, I mean, as a professional athlete, for me, it was like you have to win or you're not here, and we hated losing. Like I hate to lose, and is there a residual or most of these guys that are here right now? Are they going to be around? Does it even matter? What's the impact of kind of the losing part of things right now?
Well, it's a great question because, like you said, I mean, you ably played the quarterback position at the pro level, and you're a competitor. I played ball with you, and we were on the floor with like an 8-year-old kid, and you wanted to win that game, and I did too. And that's what competitors do. We compete. So any player is gonna feel a way about losing, especially when it's an 82 game season, as opposed to a 16 game season, and you're losing 3 times a week, over and over and over and over and over again. That can be repetitive and it can be redundant. So players play to win games. Front office is tank. Which is why when the Jazz played the Wizards last night, basically their first 6 players were not playing.
Right.
Because the Jazz,
because they were all sick or injured, right? Wink, wink.
Yeah, well, wink, wink, and they wanted to lose that game. So there's a balance that has to be struck. You don't want to kill the psyche of a locker room, but at the same time, the locker room knows what's going on. I was talking to a Jazz player about this, a couple of weeks ago, and he said, we know what's going on. We know what the deal is. But when we're out there on the floor, especially if I'm out there on the floor, the guy I was talking to is a guy that plays very sporadically, even when the Jazz don't have guys in, and he did not play last night. And he said, when I'm on the floor, I'm going to play to win. But at the same time, I understand what the front office has to do, and you have to understand, and I understand that this is a business. So there's a balance that needs to be struck, and 2 things can be true for the Jazz. They know that there has to be a culture fostered to winning. But at the same time, this Jazz front office, 2 years ago, tried to make a big splash in free agency, wasn't able to do it. Last year, tried to make a big splash on the trade market and in free agency, weren't able to do it. So they realized, if we're going to get the guy, it's going to have to be through the draft. So we're going to have to change our philosophy a little bit, which is why you see this tank here, which is why, depending on what happens this year, you might see another tank year next year.
Yeah, it was another question I want to ask you. You get a Cooper flag, you get some of these lottery picks, high picks, first pick in the draft, and all of a sudden players from around the league start looking like, that's where I want to go. I want to go to Utah. Can you eventually make a splash in free agency and in trades if all of a sudden players see that Utah's got a lot of good players there that you could really turn the corner if you join the team? Or is it just like Charles Barkley said, Utah's boring and good basketball players aren't going to come here?
Well, that's inaccurate what Barkley said. I don't know that you're going to get the guy to come here. Like, I don't know if you're going to be able to trade, let's just put this out there for, argument's sake. You're probably not going to be able to trade for Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to be able to trade for Giannis. The Jazz tried to trade for Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's agent said, "We love you, Utah. We want to go to Boston." But in 2018, the Jazz were able to get Bojan Bogdanovic in free agency. Yeah. They flipped him from Indiana, and Bojan at the time was, probably one of the best 35 or 40 players in the league. So, the Jazz have proven that they can get, a dynamic scorer if you have almost everything else. And the reason why Bojan came here was because, Donovan Mitchell was already established, Rudy Gobert was already established, and Mike Conley had come here with the trade. So they were able to get Bojan, and they've been able to get other free agents. They got Rudy Gay, but granted that was towards the end of his career. So I don't think they're going to be able to get a number one option in as a trade or in free agency, but I do think that they can get dynamic guys if they have guys already in place.
Speaking of Luka, does a trade to the Lakers, does that make them a contender now, or are we just kind of a little bit distracted about maybe someone from the West that's better?
No, they're absolutely a contender. You gave LeBron James, who is playing at an NBA at an MVP level this year. You gave an MVP level LeBron James a guy that's generational, and so you gave LeBron essentially another LeBron, and you gave Luka essentially another Luka. So you have two of the same guys on the floor, and around them there are a bunch of two-way wings who make shots, who are long and lengthy. And oh, by the way, Austin Reeves has developed into a top-notch player offensively. Right. So to me, the only team that I probably would not favor them against in a series in a Western Conference is Oklahoma City. And right now there are only two teams in the league right now who have the defensive infrastructure, in my opinion, to deal with the Lakers, and that's one is Oklahoma City and two is Boston. So to me, they're absolutely a title contender.
One last question before I let you go. I really enjoyed this, by the way. I love talking about the Jazz, and so. But this is a Jazz question. So, what have you seen? You mentioned Philip Kowski and Isaiah Collier. You've seen good things. What have you seen from this team that we should be excited about? That even though they're not winning, what's good?
Well, I think that there are a number of things that the Jazz have found out this year. I think one is that Walker Kessler is absolutely a guy you can build around. Like, he's not the guy, obviously,
right?
But he's a really, really, really talented two-way center, and he is improved by leaps and bounds over last season. So I think the Jazz are going to pay him and give him a contract extension this summer. You still have Lauri Markkanen. I think Filipowski and Isaiah Collier have really distinguished themselves. I think that you've gathered more information on Keontae George in terms of what he is as an NBA player. I think if you're the Jazz, you know that you have pieces, but you know that going into this offseason and perhaps next offseason, you have to find the guy. You have to find the number one guy. And I think that that's what this season is about, putting themselves in position to get that number one guy. And if they don't this offseason, then you do it again, because the draft of 2026, unlike this year where there is probably one guy, there are three guys in the draft of 2026 that you can look at right now that project as true franchise guys. And that's one is AJ DeBansa, who local fans know well because he's committed to be signed with BYU. Two is another guy that local fans know really well, Cameron Boozer. He is the son of Carlos Boozer. And three, who I think might be the best player of the three, is Darren Peterson, who is a 6'5" shooting guard who will be playing at Kansas next year.
Okay, you're going to have to put me in a round padded room if I have to go through another year of tanking. But if it means a championship, I will do that. Tony Jones, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate you, bro.
You got it. Likewise. All right, there you have it, folks. Tony Jones, who covers the Jazz and the NBA for The Athletic. Interesting stuff. Jazz win by losing. I know that's a weird concept, but bear with us. This is going to be a great thing. Before we get out to break, we're right here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles, 10673 South State Street in Sandy. And we're having a rip party, right? Michelle is joining us. She is one of the owners of Overtime Cards and Collectibles. And so what do? So when you have a rip party, someone comes into the store, do they have the package? Can you get packages here? Do you sell rip packages, or how does this work?
Yeah, so we sell what you would refer to as sealed wax, so your packs or your boxes of football, baseball, basketball, hockey, just about any sport, WWE, entertainment, Pokemon. So we've got all of those different products that people will come in and buy. And as we mentioned, I believe Chris mentioned earlier about our rip station or our rip desk. People will buy, they'll open up their packs, their boxes here, and just really a lot of fun.
It's the big reveal.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So are packages the same, or are there some that you go, there might be something? Are there levels of like how much you have to buy something, or is it all the same? Or?
It's really up to individual. Some people come in and they'll just buy some packs, which you have here in your hand.
Yes.
Or others may come in and buy boxes and open several boxes and spend half the day here.
Oh, how
enjoying.
Fun would that be?
Yeah, it's lots of fun.
Okay, so I'm going to do this. Right, I'm gonna rip it open. We're not at the rip station, but we're right near there. Is there anything I have to know or do? So if you can imagine, I have a pack of trading cards. It looks like it's football.
Yes. So you've got 2024.
Trying to relate it to me. 2024.
Panini Donruss.
Ooh.
So what we're kind of looking for is our rookie quarterbacks.
Gotcha.
So Scott, question for you: if you were to open this pack, who do you hope is inside there?
See, I think rookie quarterbacks. I'm gonna say Jaden Daniels. Ding, 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 ding. Like if I get Jaden Daniels, what's he worth right now?
$10 or $20, depending on if you hit a parallel. We're looking at maybe 100 plus.
Nice, and that can go up or down depending on
how
he does, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so I would want to become a fan. All right, I'm going to open it. Here we go. We're on live radio. Can everybody see this? Okay, if you can imagine, we're ripping the cards open. Ooh. Okay, we have DeAndre Swift, Vince Ferragamo. So you can get old. Oh no way. Vince, I love Vince Ferragamo. DeMario Davis, Malik Neighbors.
Oh, this is a good one right here.
Oh, yeah.
We see the excitement here.
Oh, this is so amazing, people. Okay.
Yes. So Scott, you've got a numbered card here.
What?
Of Malik. This is 19 out of 25.
No
so
way.
there are only 25 cards.
Oh, yes. I'm getting applause from everybody in here.
There's some excitement going on in here.
I have some people that have, like, you should see their eyeballs right now. They are just – okay. Let's see. Who do I have here? Raheem can't read – Mostert? I can't read the last name. He must not be very important. Probably is. Ray Davis. Hey, I got a Mitchell card. Adonai Mitchell. Devin Leary. Kirk Cousins. How valuable is Kirk Cousins with Atlanta? Is that a good one? All right, that's a good one. Zoe Flowers. So this is a good one.
Yes.
Oh man. Whew.
Good
so are you
catch.
supposed to touch these with your hands?
You want to be careful.
She's like, in other words, Scott, you weren't being very careful there. I feel like I'm your mom telling you to wash your hands before you do that. Okay, that's very cool. So you guys have people come in, they can buy, trade, whatever they want.
Yes. Yeah. So lots of people collecting cards, anywhere from looking from their favorite player to maybe even looking to collecting the entire set.
Wow. It's really cool. It's 106 South and State Street, 1673 South. So it's just south of 106 South on the left side of the road here. Overtime Cards and Collectibles. And you guys have event rooms here. There's all kinds of things you do. Tell us a little bit about the event rooms.
So one of the upcoming events that we have, in addition to holding kids camps and birthday parties and other things like that, are actual athlete signings. And so we've had several of the hockey players from the Utah Hockey Club here. We've got Sergi coming on
Nice.
March 21st. So lots of different things, from individual parties to very large events where athletes are here on site.
And you also have other memorabilia and things. It's not necessarily just cards, right? You have
Yeah.
more. What other memorabilia is collectible or you see a lot of?
So primarily cards are our business, but we do have jerseys, along with recently we just got in baseball bats, signed baseball bats from several MLB players, mini helmets from football players, along with full-size helmets, and then we also currently have NBA basketball jerseys.
Do you ever get like Super Bowl rings? Does stuff like that come through? Or is that just
That's
ever-
a little rare,
little rare?
but it has happened. Yes.
Okay, so this Malik Neighbors card we just got, so it's worth $305.
Yes.
And so the package, how much would you say the package was when? $20.
$20.
Wow. And that's just that. These other cards have value too, right? So
They do. Not quite.
wow,
that.
that's so
300.
fun. I love this.
Yes.
I'm serious. I can't wait. I have so many cards I'm going to bring in here and share with you guys. So come on down. We're here till 5:00. Sign up for the ESPN The Fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Also, you can enter to win a $100 gift card here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. Thank you, Michelle, so much. Really appreciate it. You're listening to ESPN 792.1 The Fan. This is The Drive with Spence Checketts. We'll be back in just a minute, and we're going to talk to Neil Smith. Not the Neil Smith with the nose thing from the Kansas City Chiefs, the hockey guy. We'll catch you in a bit. Oh, sports fans, welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence today. We're on ESPN 792.1 FM, and today we're out at Overtime Cars and Collectibles here in Sandy, 106 South and State Street. And come check it out. It's really cool stuff. We are giving away a $100 Overtime Cards gift card. You can sign up for a drawing for that. And also you can QR code for the ESPN The Fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge. So I'm going to fill out a bracket, you fill out a bracket, and we'll bracket together. We'll do all that great stuff. Really cool things going on here. I just I had my rip party here at the Overtime Card. So they have rip parties, they have events, they have players who come in, and I was able to procure a $305 Malik Neighbors card. So I was lucky today. $20 got me $300. That's what's exciting about cards. Joining us right now on the program is Neil Smith, former GM of the New York Rangers, who won a Stanley Cup, and of course he does his NHL Wraparound podcast. Neil, welcome to the program. I was a little nervous when I saw your name. It was giving me nightmares from my days of playing football in the NFL. I thought you were Neil Smith, who wore the breathe right, and he was a defensive lineman who tried to kill quarterbacks. So I'm so glad that it's the hockey Neil Smith.
You know what's funny is that I knew about that the whole time, and it was while I was GM. Of course, he was with the Chiefs, and I actually spoke to him on Twitter, I think it was. Somehow I got to him, and I got to sort of meet him through that. But, yeah, you have to, if you Google me, you have to put Neil Smith hockey, or else
Yes.
It all comes up about that Neil Smith.
Yeah, so Neil Smith and Derek Thomas were a formidable duo on the defensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then Neil went on and played for the Broncos. But what a great player he was. And so the trade deadline, NHL trade deadline's tomorrow at 4 p.m. Anything new? Anything in the works here with the deadline that we should be aware of here in the great state of Utah?
Well, Utah made a couple of trades already, or made a couple of signings. I'm sorry, not trades,
right.
Signings. They signed a couple of their defensemen, Ian Cole and Alex, and then a forward, Alex Kerfoot, and so they took them off the free agent market. But there's been a couple of trades, nothing major. But what's really surprising, Scott, is that there was a major trade in the middle of the season when between Carolina and Colorado. And Colorado traded Mikko Rantanen, who's an all-star 50-goal scorer, great player. They traded him to Carolina, and the reason probably that they did that was because he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. They got back a real good player in Marty Necas, who's playing for them on Colorado and playing really well. But now Rantanen says that he's not going to sign until after the season. So that's scary for Carolina because they put out a lot to trade for him,
right?
And he isn't going to sign. So now the rumor is, or the thought is, will Carolina turn around and trade him again so that they don't have him walking away for nothing? So that's an interesting part of this trade deadline. Personally, being involved in this for so many years, I find it hard to believe that there'd be a taker for a guy who's, is a UFA at the end of the year and is asking for a really big number. So I think he'll probably stay put in Carolina, but it's interesting anyway.
Yeah, that is interesting. It almost seems like why would you make that trade in the first place if you were going to allow that, or is there a way around it, or could a team trade for him, or and sign him as part of trading for him, sign him to a long-term contract?
Well, that's the whole thing, Scott. It's the same in all the sports. If you're trading for a guy who's unrestricted at the end of the year, you're going to make sure you can get him signed, right? So you're going to talk to the agent, you're going to talk to somebody, and you're going to find out what is it going to take to get this guy signed. Because I don't want to give away great assets for 3 months. But it's in this case, I mean, the same team, Carolina Hurricanes, did it last year when they traded for Gensel. And he finished the playoffs with them. They did respectively. But he moved on to Tampa when the year was off. He went and signed with Tampa, so they ended up with nothing for Gensel last year, and it could be the same thing this year now with Rantanen. So, and those are heavy-duty losses to take for a management when you lose a player for nothing. You know, it's your job is to make sure that you maintain assets. And when you lose guys that are that valuable for nothing, it can really bite you.
You mentioned Utah HC extending several players from either 1 year, three, I think, you know, a couple for 1 year, a couple for three, and then the goalie for five. What is that? What is that message, or what's the strategy behind the differing times of extending contracts, and what is all? Unwrap that for me. Tell me what that all means.
Well, it usually goes by the age of the player. I mean, with Vejmelka, he's come up to be their number one goalie this year. They didn't start out that way. I don't think they expected him to be, but he's played his way into the number one role. So I'm sure they wanted to get him tied up. And you know, with Ian Cole, who they signed, who's a great experienced, real veteran player. He's long in the tooth. You know, he's in his 30s, so they're going to give him a shorter contract. And with Alex Kerfoot, he's been around quite a while, but not the age of Ian Cole. But you know, so he would get maybe a little bit more time. It's all going to go on the projection, as it is in any sport, projection of how long you've got left in your career, and don't take a chance that, you know, maybe we're going to be paying you in the future when we can't use you anymore.
So we live in a bubble here in Utah. We have our own sense of what's real and reality, and I think it's the high altitude that does that to us. In the mountains, we're kind of secluded here. What does the rest of the world view about the Utah Hockey Club and this first year in Utah? What's been the perception of people and fans and everything in the NHL?
You know, the NHL has three categories of teams. So there's the teams that are, you know, when training camp comes along, that these teams are in the playoffs for sure. And it's just a matter of where are they going to be in the standings. And that's one grouping, both in the East and in the West. Then you have another grouping that's sort of the bubble teams. And by that, what I mean is in the West, it's Vancouver, Calgary, Utah, St. Louis, Anaheim. Those are sort of the bubble teams. They're trying to get up with that first group and break into that and be a for sure playoff team. And then you've got the third group, which is the more of the Chicago, the San Jose, the teams that are totally rebuilding. And there probably was never a thought that they were going to be in the playoffs right from the get-go because they're in a total rebuild. And Utah's in that bubble group. They're trying to get out of that. And this year they've shown that they're knocking on the door for sure. They're right behind Vancouver and Calgary, who are very good teams. But it's going to take about 93 to 94 points to get into the playoffs. And so for Utah to get there with only 57 right now, you can do the math. That's 27 more points they need, and they've only got 26 games remaining. So they've got to go at a heck of a clip now to be able to jump in. But the perception of them is that they're a building team. They're a young team. They came from Arizona, and they have done a good job of staying in it the whole season and knocking on the door. And I think that's what's important, so that with one or two good moves, with one or two, you know, another draft pick that comes in that's real good, all of a sudden you look around and see Utah is there and in the playoffs next year.
Yeah, so it's interesting, and you mentioned they got to play at a high clip right now. Are they capable? I mean, what would have to happen in order for this team to actually make the playoffs? Is it you know, they got to stay healthy, they got to have people really playing at their best. You know, the goalie's got to get what needs to happen for this team to make it? Aside from they got to get the points, obviously.
Yeah, I think they got to go on a tremendous clip, and all those things you just said. The goaltender's got to stand on his head. They've got to get the goals out of the goal scorers like Gunther and so on. But I'll tell you, the main thing that they have to do is they have 5 games left with other bubble teams, meaning other teams that are in the same situation they're in. Yeah. 2 with Vancouver, 2 with Calgary, 1 with St. Louis, and 1 with Anaheim. They got to make sure they win those games, because they've got to take the points off the table away from those teams. so that they can start to jump. Of course, they need a winning streak. Everybody that's in that bubble needs a winning streak. But particularly, you can't lose points to Vancouver, Calgary, St. Louis, and Anaheim, because those are the teams you have to jump over to get into that eighth and final spot in the playoffs in the West.
We're a community that loves our sport. We really do. It's a very, very passionate sports fan base here. They will show up. They will support. Folks are excited about this Utah Hockey Club, and you're a former GM and a guy who's had success at that and won Stanley Cup and all that. And if you look at this Utah Hockey Club, what is the move? What's your next move? What's your move? You talk about getting into the playoffs next year and moving up in the pecking order of perception. How do you go from a bubble team to a playoff team? And what's the one move that you see that the Utah HC has to do?
You know, I really like Clayton Keller, who they made captain this year. He's a young guy. I think, and this is hard to do. So Scott, everything I'm saying isn't easy. None of this is easy. But if they could get a guy in that locker room that has some winning background to help those young guys know what it takes to get to the playoffs and have success in the playoffs, I think that could really help them. But again, it's not easy to find that guy. They don't grow on trees. And other than that, they've just got to wait for the development of these young players. They've got some great young guys, and they just have to work on that development. And I think they're going to be there. I like the moves that Bill Armstrong has made. And you know what? I think that they're going to get there. They're just, the fans and the organization are going to have to be patient, because you came in as a non-playoff team. You've made some strides this season. But again, it's not easy to jump over all these teams.
Yeah, I'm really curious about, you talk about these players developing. Is it just a matter of playing? I mean, I know in my experience with sports, it was like there was no better teacher than game experience. And is that all it is? Is that the thing that they just got to get game time? They got to see those, plays and see how, just get a feel for the game and just play. And is that what it takes? Or are there other things that they can be doing to develop these players?
I think reps, and that's what you're talking about, reps, like getting more repetitions, and that means more games. I think if you look at their team, they've improved from the beginning of the season till now, and they've matured. In the beginning of the season, they were taking a lot of foolish penalties. They were getting caught on the penalty kill all the time, and that was losing them games. They don't do that much anymore. I think they've grown up in that respect. But it is a matter of just being, playing more and more NHL games. And as you get older, of course, meaning, as you mature, all of a sudden you jump ahead of your competition. And so it's the same everywhere. It's the same with, musicians, right? They've got to play a lot of places before they get on the big stage. And I think it's the same with these guys. And obviously the coaching will help them, but all the players stay in great shape year-round. They work out really hard. They do whatever they can, and the teams are there to support that. So it is a matter of just the maturation process.
One last thing before I let you go here. This Four Nations Challenge, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I'm so disappointed with all-star games and showcase games in all these sports, and it just was exciting. And maybe it was accelerated because of the political climate that we're in right now. But is this something we should expect to see more and maybe expanded, or what's your take on what the NHL did this year?
Scott, to be honest with you, when they announced that they were going to do this thing, I thought, here's another money grab. The Players Association and the league have got together. They'll make a pile of money. But I got to tell you, I was glued to it. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I thought the players played really hard, and unfortunately, a few got injured, so that doesn't help their NHL teams. But I think you're going to see this every few years, like meaning every 3 years or something. I haven't heard that. I just think that they'll do that. They'll take advantage of this. I like you, wish they would just get rid of the All-Star game. It isn't a game anymore. It's it's basically, let's go out there and just, be soft on each other and just tee it up and laugh. And I just don't think it represents the game very well. So I wish they would just turn to something like the Four Nations, try to figure out what's the next thing they can do so that they can keep that time off and keep those best players playing and showing their best rather than showing just a skills competition.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. Hey, I've really appreciated spending some time with you today. It's been great, enlightening. Good luck to you and the rest of the day, and take care.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Nice to be on with you, too. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. All right, there you have it. Neil Smith, of course, he does the NHL Wraparound podcast, former GM of the New York Rangers, Stanley Cup winners. So cool stuff. And, yeah, I think our Utah HC is headed in the right direction. So before we go out to break here, we have Chris, who's one of the owners of Overtime Cards and Collectibles, with us. We're out here at 10673 South State Street in Sandy, right on the east side of the road, just south of 106 South. Really cool stuff going on. This is a great place. They've got all kinds of memorabilia, cards. You can come in, you can buy stuff, you can do a rip party. They have special event rooms. You can host birthday parties, all kinds of fun things. I mean, they've had bachelor parties here, all kinds of cool stuff. What's the thing about Kids Summer Sports Card Camp? What's that all about?
Ahead and start during the summer break is, like, as we talked about earlier, it's just building the community, right? And so it's giving the kids, just teaching the kids how to properly care for a card, what cards they should look for, from your base sets to your parallels to your inserts, and the more just growing the hobby. As we all know, going back to when we were kids is when we first start falling in love with it, and then just continuing to keep the next generation going through with us.
Yeah, so come on down. You can actually sign up. You can do a QR code for the ESPN 700 and ESPN The Fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Also, you can enter your name in to win $100 here and a gift card from Overtime Cards and Collectibles. So we did a rip party earlier, really fun thing. I found out that I opened a card that's worth $300 here. What you were telling me off the air, you had a boy who did a birthday party and he actually did a rip party. So these are sealed packages of cards, and you don't know what you're going to get. And you just open them up, and it's a surprise. So you had a birthday party,
so he had a birthday party, and so he went and I'm a big basketball fan, and he says, you know what, I'm gonna try to get a Cade Cunningham autograph. I'm like, all right, dude. Well, here's the pack. You can try to do it, and sure enough, and you see him open, and he comes over, and his eyes are just humongous, big smile. He's like, look what I hit. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, good, congrats. So yeah, so those are the coolest things that, as we were just talking over there on, during this telecast, is that our biggest hits lately have been from loose packs, from anywhere from our Wemby auto to our Connor Bedard autograph card. And so all these big, humongous cards that are worth thousands of dollars have been coming from those, and it's been amazing.
Look, everyone has trading cards. Got them somewhere. Bring them down.
Yep.
You can get. They'll evaluate them. You can buy cards. You can sell cards. What are some of the cards that you're looking for to actually sell or to buy from people?
So our biggest ones are always going to be your autograph and your jersey cards and some of your top rookies. But as you've been seeing, there's been a lot of people been coming in, and we've been buying from their kabooms to your downtowns to your low numbers to your historical. We just got a Larry Bird autograph here just a little bit ago, Randy Moss autograph rookie card just a little bit ago. So those are always the fun ones. So autographs, rookie cards, jersey cards are always the main topics.
And you have player signings as well.
Yep, player signings.
What do you got coming up?
So our biggest one is going to be Mikhail Sergachev. He'll be here March 21st. It is sold out, but we have some other ones that are coming here. We got some to be determined. It'll make our fan base quite happy.
So space is limited.
Space is limited. Yeah, it did sell out in record time.
Wow,
less
that's
than
awesome.
72 hours. But we have some more other upcoming guests for sure.
And there's places people can go to find future schedules and things because you don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah, exactly. You can come to our website. Best advice is go to our website, subscribe to our email list. We sent that out to our first for the Sergachev signing. And from our email list, 75% of the tickets were sold. And then the next day we put it up on our socials, and that's when it sold out.
Come on down, say hello. sign up for the ESPN 700, ESPN The Fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge, and of course, enter your name in to draw and buy a pack of cards and rip them open, and who knows, you could be a winner. Thanks, Chris. We'll catch up with you here in just a bit. You're listening to The Drive with Spence Checketts. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence on ESPN 700 92.1. What do we have? We have Jason Bateko from the Salt Lake Tribune. Of course, he covers the Utes. Batakow, sorry. He covers the Utes for the Salt Lake Tribune.
And we have
we'll talk a
we
lot
have
about Ute stuff.
Some breaking news, Scott.
We
Mitchell.
may have some news. Do we have some news, Porter? We may have some news.
Oh, that we do. Breaking news. Of course, as reported on ESPN 700 2 days ago, Alex Jensen has accepted the head coaching position at the University of Utah. Already a Hall of Famer at the U. Of course, former assistant to Rick Majerus at St. Louis, former assistant with the Jazz, now with the Dallas Mavericks, and now headed back home to Salt Lake City.
There you have it, folks. Alex Jensen is official. He is the new head basketball coach for the University of Utah. We'll catch up with you and talk a lot about that with our friend Jason Batekow from the Salt Lake Tribune when we return. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Spence today. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Of course, we are very proud to be a partner of the Utah ESPN Sports Network. Big news, a lot of fun today. We are actually, before I get that news, we're actually out here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles, 10673 South. This is Utah's premier trading card destination. And we have actually done rip parties here today, and we have opened up some valuable cards. So lots of fun. Come on by, check us out. You can get your name in for a drawing for a $100 gift card here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. And also you can QR code for the ESPN 700 and the ESPN The Fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Come on down, say hello. We'll shake your hand. We'll kiss babies. We'll trade cards. We'll have a good time. All right, joining us right now is Jason Batacchio from the Salt Lake Tribune. Of course, he covers the Utes, and there's nothing better than covering the Utes right at this moment because Alex Jensen officially has been named the basketball coach for the men's program at the University of Utah. Welcome, Jason. How are you?
Doing good, man. Just a busy day. Been on the phones all day, working the phones, doing my job. So, yeah, busy but fun time of the year. Coaching searches are always fun, and they always have good stories attached to them. So it's a good time to be a reporter on the Utah beat. So yeah.
So Alex Jensen, of course, is now officially been named the head basketball coach at the University of Utah. Mm-hmm. Just happened officially. I think everyone felt that it was going to happen, and it's now officially happened. Tell me a little bit. You know, why is he interesting to the University of Utah? What's he going to bring to the table?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I think the first thing is just he brings sort of the culture of Utah basketball back. For so long, you know, this program, I mean, it's been 9 years since this program's been to the NCAA tournament, and Al really just knows what it takes to win here. He knows what it takes to engage donors. I mean, he was part of the 1998, you know, national championship runner-up team that had Andre Miller. You know, all of those things. I mean, he's a Utah man through and through. So, you know, I can understand why fans are excited. But he also has just a bevy of professional experience. I mean, he's obviously on the Jazz. He was a big part of Rudy Gobert's development. You know, he was in the finals literally last year with Luka Doncic before the Mavs decided to trade him away. You know, it's so as college basketball starts evolving and the transfer portal is sort of becoming a big free agency and all that stuff, I think Alex has a lot of the intangibles to bring a new foundation to the table for Utah men's basketball. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you wonder how much of an impact, of course, down south and hiring a guy with similar type of NBA coaching experience and the impact of that, because clearly it's had an impact on recruiting. We understand that, you know, it's dollars and cents is what's really going to move the needle with recruiting, but it's also having a coach that has that kind of, because all these players want to go to the NBA. All players in football want to go to the NFL, and
right.
Knowing you have a coach that knows what it's like, you know, that's been there. I guess my understanding with Alex was, you know, he was looking to kind of go a different path, you know, like you know, he was well respected as a coach in the NBA, and I think he was looking to potentially becoming a head coach in the NBA. So why does he now come back to Utah as opposed to maybe sticking around for a shot at a coaching job in the NBA?
Yeah, I think the big part about it is, you know, Alex has eyed this job for, you know, a long time. I mean, 4 years ago he was in consideration for it, and obviously Utah opted for Craig Smith, which seemed like the good hire at the time, and you know, we saw how that worked out. And, you know, from my understanding, Alex was really, you know, looking forward to potentially having the job in his hands. So now I think, you know, the opportunity to come back to his alma mater, to rebuild the program the way he knows it should be built, and the opportunity to not only, you know, bring it back to its glory days, but, you know, engage with donors, engage with the fan base, and all that stuff in my mind, a big selling point for him. And so I think to kind of go to your point of, he was looking for new opportunities. I think, as you mentioned, he did consider head coaching jobs in the NBA, but as college basketball and college football, for that matter, and just all of college athletics, continues to shift. I know the House settlement's waiting approval, I think, in July. That's just going to further professionalize the model. So what better way to, basically have a quasi-professional job and also be at your alma mater and sort of lay the foundation for the program that he really cares about, a program that, he loves dearly, I'm sure. I mean, so I don't know, that in my mind, those were big selling points for him, and he's had this job for quite some time. So yeah.
How much of an impact does this have with boosters? Because really, I mean, boosters become a big part of your success today. Put your money where your mouth is, and what kind of impact do you think were there possibly donors saying, look, we'll invest in the program if you get the right coach in here, someone who understands the culture, someone, or would they now be attracted because of him? What kind of impact does his hire have on the pocketbooks of donors at the University of Utah?
Yeah, I think it opens up a lot of opportunities. I mean, Craig, before he was terminated, I'd spoken to him at lengths about just the struggles that Utah was having in the NIL space. And there's different factors for a multitude of those things. I'm not going to go too much into that. But, I think Alex is the kind of guy that, donors look at and be like, or just like, we can win with that guy. And he also understands the culture of this place. He understands the culture and foundation of Utah men's basketball. And so, yeah, I think it can open up the pocketbooks. And I think, that's something that he probably talked about with Harlan throughout this process of like, how can they activate the pocketbooks of donors? How can they activate that NIL funding? Because especially in a league like the Big 12, it is so important. It's important to have packed crowds, which, I'm sure that's something that they're going to work on in the Huntsman Center. I'm sure there are tons of things that they're continuing to look at as things move forward. So, yeah, I think Al can unlock a lot of those things. I'm not a donor. I can't speak to, certain people, but I'm sure there's a level of excitement bringing Al into the program. So, yeah.
What's your sense of the commitment from the athletic department in the basketball program, getting back to its prominence it had in the past? There's a lot of good. It's a very competitive league basketball wise, and I'm just curious if you have a sense of where the athletic department is on. Hey, we're all in on this, or what's your sense from them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think this hire kind of is just the start of a domino effect. I can't speak to any particulars or anything like that, but hiring Alex Jensen as sort of the figurehead for Utah men's basketball at this pivotal juncture, I think speaks a lot to the urgency that the fans feel, the urgency that the administration feels, the urgency that Mark Harlan feels to get it right. Because I've talked to numerous Utah fans, they've told me it doesn't feel right not having the running Utes in the NCAA tournament. It's one thing to have deep tournament runs, but this program for so long has been so used to just being in the tournament, and it just from people on the outside looking in, it's like, what is going on over there? And by that, I mean the men's basketball program. So I think hiring Al is a big first step in activating a lot of the keys that, that haven't sort of been there for Utah men's basketball. I mean, NIL is a big part of it. Getting fans engaged is a big part of it. And, I think he's the kind of guy that can sort of help bring back the energy that's been lacking for so many years, so, yeah.
I'm curious now that Utah, BYU are in the same conference, and Utah's been in the Power 5 world in the Pac-12 for quite some time, and there hasn't been the same type of rivalry with the folks down south. I'm curious how much maybe the success BYU's having with basketball this year, how much success they had last year in the football program. I wonder how much that's actually driving the decisions and the determination, because I know last year the football season was massively disappointing for everyone, and it was made worse because BYU they played well, and you kind of feel the same way with basketball right now, and you just wonder how much your rivalry is now upping your game or your determination to not be second fiddle to your rival.
Yeah, obviously I come from Oklahoma. I went to the University of Oklahoma, and similar conversations.
I've never heard of
had.
I'm kidding.
And so the Texas OU Red River rivalry thing is such a massive thing, and when Texas was bad and OU was good, it was like, when's Texas going to come back? But now, Texas is good. There's a sense of urgency in Norman. I know they just hired Jim Nagy as their general manager, and it's kind of lit a fire under that administration to just get things right. And so, I think the same could be said here for the Utes, for Utah's administration. I mean, when things are going well for your rival and they're also beating you, not only in recruiting, but, whether it be fan engagement or just purely winning games, I mean, that has to be a driving factor as much as people don't want to say it is. I mean, it is. I mean, you're compared to your rival just as much as you want to beat them. So I'm sure it's a big thing for sure.
I think it is too. I do, and I think rising tides raise all ships, and you don't want your rival to outdo you. So rivalries are good. They're good for a lot of reasons. I'm excited about this with Alex Gents. I really am. I think it's an awesome hire. I think it's the best thing they could have possibly done, and I really, really hope that they surround and they give Alex the best opportunity, and they put all the resources available and then some to help him succeed, because it helps everything when that happens. Let's flip gears here for a minute if you're able to do that. You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, we just flipped them. We're going to talk about football here. Of course,
Okay.
spring football's coming up pretty quick, and there's a sense of urgency there as well. What's your kind of general view of this team going into next year? A lot of new faces, but is it really time to panic? And what do you think about things?
I wouldn't say it's time to panic at all. I think I think the biggest piece of panic, if Utah fans were to feel that, was getting the offense right. I truly think the defense is always going to be there. I mean, even with their tackling struggles last year, with some of the injuries that they had, like, they were still a top unit in the country. Even though it didn't look like it at some points, like, statistically, they were one of the better units in the country, and they had the playmakers to make plays, to do all those things. Really, the problem was, I mean, Kyle said it himself, was the offense, was the quarterback position. And so I think this spring will really be sort of a kind of a glimpse into, what is this offense going to look like? What is it going to look like, with Devin Dampier at quarterback, with Wayshawn Parker in the backfield? Can Dorian Singer come back for a fifth year? That's kind of still up in the air. But, I think getting these pieces to acclimate quickly on the offense and developing them in the right way is going to be important for Utah, because, if they don't get the offense right, then, there's going to be a sense of panic from, the fans. There's going to be a sense of panic from, maybe even the coaches. But I think that's the biggest thing heading into, spring camp is what is this offense going to look like? What does Devin Dampier bring to the table as a quarterback, as a person, as a leader, especially replacing a guy like Cam Rising. Obviously, he had injuries the past two seasons that held him out. I think he only played 2.5 games, but he was a vital piece to, bringing this program to, 2 back-to-back Pac-12 championships. He was a leader in the locker room. Everybody looked up to him. And so, not to say Devin has, big shoes to fill, but, he's got to sort of establish himself as the leader of this offense and the football team. And I think the same thing goes for Jason Beck. First year offensive coordinator, and we saw the kind of success Andy Ludwig had early on as Utah's offensive coordinator. So I think it's a big season for the offense to reestablish itself as a good unit, because as we've all seen here in Utah, when there's a good offense paired with a good defense, things can go really far. I mean, that's how they went far in 2008. It's how they made it to 2 back-to-back Pac-12 championships. And I think for Kyle specifically, I think figuring out the offense has been sort of I wouldn't say the biggest struggle, but just the biggest piece for him to find success, especially as he's entering his 21st or 22nd year. I'm losing track of the numbers here, but yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
No, it's so true. And, I think it's driven him nuts trying to figure out the offense, quite frankly. And because you have any semblance of offense, not only do you win, and you probably win the conference because, you look at all the games that were really close. Right. And, but it also helps your defense. It helps them not to get so worn down. They're not on the field so long. So it's a really valuable thing. And it'll be fascinating with Devin Dampier. I was talking earlier in the show with Sam Brookhouse, and, he's talking about these players who have transferred from multiple schools and how well they're playing at the professional level. And so you kind of – I'm fascinated to see what's going to happen with Devin Dampier, and if he happens to be one of those players, so moving to a new program and even an elevated, competition level in a Power 4 conference. So it'll be interesting.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, that's all I got today for you, Jason. Really have enjoyed this conversation, and thank you so much for jumping on the show.
Yeah, for sure. Love when you guys have me on. I wish I could be on more. Sometimes my schedule does not permit, but I always try to make time for you guys. So
clear your schedule, buddy. Come on, let's go. Talk more on the radio. That's my motto. All right, be good. We'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Thank you.
You got it. We'll see you. There you have it. Jason Batecchio from the Salt Lake Tribune. Of course, he covers the Utes. Interesting stuff about Alex Jensen, and of course, it's always the freaking quarterbacks. It's always the offense. That's always the question. All the quarterbacks get all the glory, and they get all blah 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 blah. So sick of quarterbacks. Actually, I like quarterbacks. They're my favorite. Anyways, right now we are at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. We've got Chris here, one of the owners, and this is a cool place. This is Utah's premier trading card destination, from rare sports memorabilia, single slabs, and I guess bring it back to 1989 with rare Pokemon cards. How many Pokemon cards do you run into, Chris?
Quite a few now. So we've been building our fan base for that, our selection. We got a wall dedicated to it. We got a case dedicated to all the singles. So yeah, it's been an exciting time. Honestly, that's probably the hottest card out there in the trading card world right now is Pokemon cards.
And you buy stuff, you sell stuff, you evaluate the value of cards?
Yep. Every day we're always buying and selling and trading. And so, yeah, we're always saying bring your cards in. We can always take a look. If it's everything that fits into our want and needs, we'll go ahead and make a deal with you guys. We always love looking through the cards and just also talking to the customers about where they got the cards from, for some of the history of it. So, yeah, it's always great.
I got to tell you, okay, there's been just a steady flow of people through here,
Yes.
and it's just been so fun to see. I'm right in front of the rip table
the rip desk.
The rip desk, and it's very cool where you buy a pack of sealed cards and you rip them open, and who knows what you get, because I was able to do this, and I got one of 25 cards here with Malik Neighbors, and it's a very valuable card. And I had no idea, and it's just a really cool thing. So come down, get in the QR code here. You can scan it on your phone, and you're signed up to be a part of ESPN 700 and ESPN The Fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge. And also you can enter your name in to get a $100 gift card here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. Uh, Apparently, you do all kinds of events and parties. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our next big event is going to be our trade night. So we always host a trade night for on each month. So the next one's going to be March 15th, and it's from young adults to kids to younger adult or older adults to everyone. They trade from sports cards to Pokemon cards to Magic cards, and so we're going and getting into that. So there's always that's our one big thing that we always do once a month, and then we have our Mikhail Sergachev signing on March 21st. And then we're always doing those special things, from having you guys out to, we just did a podcast just yesterday, and we're always doing events, trying to make it as much as family fun and, as possible.
Come down. Come sign up. Come check them out. We're here for a bit longer. Been here all afternoon. And you know what? Even if we're not here, still show up. It's an awesome place. You'll have a great time here. And you want to find out when these signings are. I'm just telling you, because they sell out. And so you want to get, if you got your favorite player, hockey's big in other sports here in the state of Utah. Got a lot of famous athletes here. So come down to Overtime Cards and Collectibles here on 10673 South State Street in Standy. Thank you so much, Chris. We're going to chat one more time before you leave. So hopefully we're still friends by the end of this.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. All right, you're listening to The Drive with Spence Checketts. I'm Scott Mitchell. Filling in for Spence today here on ESPN 700 921 The Fan. When we come back, we're going to do sports court. Yes, the worst violation I've had lately is a parking ticket, which I actually paid before I got a long fine. So talk to the folks at Handy and Handy Law here right around the corner. Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence today. Of course, we are here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles, Utah's premier trading card destination. 10673 South State Street in Sandy. Cool stuff going on. Come check them out. You can also enter in with a QR code to the ESPN 700 and the ESPN The Fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Enter your name for a $100 overtime card gift card here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. Joining us on the program right now is none other than Preston and Garrett Handy from Handy and Handy Law Firm. It's handylawutah.com. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. How are you guys today?
Hey, good. Good to hear from you, Scott.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'm just supposed to tee you guys up, and we're going to talk about. I'm just glad it's not talking about me, that I was not in trouble. I'm just happy to know that I didn't make it on Sports Court today. So this is good stuff. NASCAR countersues 23 XI Racing Michael Jordan's pal over cartel.
Yeah. Well, before we get into it, I don't know if Scott remembers. Over 30 years ago, Scott and I played on a church basketball team that. No one could touch.
Preston
has a good memory.
Absolutely. You're the man.
So yeah, this is something that keeps coming up. Michael Jordan's bored, and he loves being in this lawsuit because he's so competitive. But it starts where Michael Jordan's teams. He's got a couple of teams. X23 X1, and the other one Front Row are part of NASCAR, and he sued NASCAR some time ago. Claiming antitrust violations, that it was unfair to competition. And since that time, a ton of things have happened, including, NASCAR came at him and said, hey, if you're going to be suing us, you can't be racing here. And they want an injunction. And also it was set for mediation. Mediation has to happen next September. And it's going to be done over a former NBA exec. I was hoping it was going to be Dave Checketts, and Spence could hear that. But now what's happened is NASCAR has countersued Michael Jordan and his teams, and they're claiming, here's what they're claiming. It's kind of crazy. They're claiming that there's a conspiracy to limit competition, and it amounts to a cartel, which is crazy. They're saying that Michael Jordan, his group coming in here, they've said they've embarked to threaten on a strategy to coerce and extort NASCAR into meeting their demands. They're kind of claiming that, hey, no one else has done this. We've been NASCAR for a long time. No one else is coming in with these claims, and now you're coming in with them, and it's an attempt to just really extort these things. So I'm learning about a lot of NASCAR things here, and it's really a mess here. A lot of legal things going on, and we claim that, when you get a guy who's a billionaire and he's ultra competitive, he's probably having fun with this on the outside. So now not only is Michael Jordan and his teams having to pursue their claims, now they're having to defend them. And Jeffrey Kessler, who's the big antitrust lawyer, he's come in with a statement and said, this is a bunch of crap with NASCAR coming in. He said, this is just a chance for them to come in and muddy the waters and try and not get to the real issues of their antitrust violations.
And apparently NASCAR is appealing Michael Jordan's racing injunction. Is that?
Yeah, that's one of the things going on. There's an appeal going on because they don't think he should have granted this injunction. He think he should be actually prevented from racing here because, he's filing a lawsuit against NASCAR.
Yeah, I had an experience, and I had a former teammate that told a story about me when he was on ESPN, and it was actually a lie. And he told a story, and it actually wasn't true. And my agent said, would you like to sue him? And I was like, I don't really want to be known as a player who sued one of his former teammates. I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird to me. So I can kind of see the weirdness of, it's like you're part of this and you're suing everyone when you're all trying to work together. It just feels a little weird to me. Okay, shall we move on?
For sure. Yeah, let's go on.
Okay, the ACC settlement, like the House deal, brings order to college sports.
Well, yeah, and also may present really a change for things to come. So, just going back really quick, this is kind of a back and forth litigation. You had Florida State and Clemson say, hey, we want out. We want out of the ACC. it's the losing ship. We want to get off this. Maybe, they think they can go to the Big Ten or whatever. But their deal with the ACC was going to cost them a massive fortune to get out of the ACC because of the deal that they had, which I think was about through 2036. And so the ACC said, no, you're stuck. You guys aren't going anywhere. You guys agreed to this. You're here to stay. And so it resulted in a couple of different lawsuits that were filed. There's been a lot of fighting over just the venue and where this lawsuit was going to actually be heard, what court it was in, whether that was North Carolina or in Florida. But ultimately, none of it really matters now because they've reached a settlement. And so kind of really quick, what they're getting out of this, what the ACC gets, well, they get to keep their two marquee football programs and they get to keep their league together. But it sure seems to me like Florida State and Clemson are coming out as big winners. And what they're getting is there's going to be now an unequal revenue distribution in the ACC, and it's going to be tied to your TV ratings. So if you have higher TV ratings, you're going to get a bigger share and bigger piece of the pie. So you only have to look to the demise of the Pac-12 to kind of see how these things can fall apart. But the ACC is holding it together. So now instead of winners and losers within leagues, you're looking at winners and losers within a specific conference. And so I think one of the things that really you could foresee for this is to say, well, is this the advent of what leads us to a super league, right? Is that where these schools, the haves and the have-nots, and the gap just continues to widen. What happens to a Wake Forest in the ACC or a Vanderbilt in the SEC? These teams, their TV ratings are going to lag far behind, and if they can't keep up, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you ask any school that was a part of the Pac-12, and they said, "Hey, would you be willing to maybe pay USC just a little bit more money so we can keep the conference together?" And I'll bet a lot of them would have said, "Yeah, we'd be willing to kind of, keep everyone happy because it really crushed and destroyed what was a great conference." And so it'll be interesting. On top of that, another thing that's really interesting is you talk about these schools that are irrelevant, like the Vanderbilts or the Wake Forest. And you look at Colorado, and Colorado's just been an okay team in the Big 12. I mean, they didn't win anything but they had such a marquee coach in Deion Sanders that they moved the needle even though they weren't great. And I wonder if that could be a strategy for some of these schools like the Wake Forest or whomever to let's hire a really high-profile type of coach to kind of give us some relevance here, so we do become part of these super
Tar
conferences.
Heels with Bill Belichick, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
What are their ratings going to be like next year?
Yeah, they'll be off the charts. Yeah, no question. Very interesting. All right, Liv Dunn could appear at the NCAA Housing Fairness hearing.
Yes, Scott. So we have talked about the House versus NCAA settlement and the lawsuits and all the legal issues going on and on for a few years now, since 2021, I think, when the settlement was reached, and we've gone over all the antitrust issues and all the things that have led up to, NIL and now payments and this settlement. And I hope the listeners out there aren't bored by it, because the House, is ever evolving and, a lot of legal issues. So this one is, the settlement is supposed to take place in April, and the judge is holding a hearing, and people are going to show up at this hearing, and there's several people that are objecting to the House settlement. They don't want it to go through, and one of the high-profile one is Olivia Dunn, a.k.a. Livy Dunn, and why she's important is because she's a gymnast at LSU, and she's a pretty good gymnast, emphasis on, I think, on pretty, but her deal is she is the North Star. She's the blueprint for monetizing her name, image, and likeness. She really is. She's not at one of these, football where they're paying a quarterback, $6 million to come to the school. She's one who has really just dived into it, the social media and everything. And so she's going to appear at this hearing. She's been invited to appear, and she's expected to object to the thing based on, she's saying, and a bunch of people are saying, hey, what really is the calculation? Really, how is this money going to be allocated? There's the big talk about everyone that talks about the House settlement is, $21 million is going to be allocated directly from the school to athletes. And we know that this money is going to go towards revenue-producing sports,
right,
football and basketball. And gymnastics at LSU is probably a big revenue, but not like football or basketball. So they're claiming that, the House settlement doesn't really set forth a calculation of how this is going to be done. And one thing that we don't talk about a lot is there is $2.8 billion that is going to be divided up for past loss of NIL opportunities, media, video opportunities. This is going to be divided between a lot of athletes, and they're concerned about the calculations. And one of the claims is, hey, this happened in 21, and NIL has really evolved since that time. So how are you going to base these calculations? So interesting enough that not only Livy Dunn, but the Department of Justice is expected to jump in on this, and some of their claims are going to be, how does this really affect antitrust going forward? Is the NCAA going to be immune to antitrust lawsuits? There's going to be potential Title IX issues talked about, how there's, unfairness with the genders and how the money is going to be split up. So, really everyone's talking about this House settlement that's supposed to take place in April. And incidentally, the NCAA and all the parties submitted the motion to the judge saying we want this approved, claiming that, it's overwhelmingly supported. But I think right now, Scott, everyone is really just holding their breath to see what happens and whether this goes through. And I suspect it won't happen in April. I think there will be some modifications and things talked about, and it'll be pushed back. So that's what everyone's waiting on.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm sure everyone wants their little piece of the pie, and probably justifiably so. I know I do. And I was told I get 52 cents for my name, image, and likeness from my time when I was back in school.
I wanted to know about that. That's awesome.
All right. So who killed the AAF? I love spring football, by the way, and I was sad when this ended. I thought they did a lot of great things. Who killed the AAF?
Well, yeah, this was 2019, the Alliance of American Football, and I think the season lasted about 8 weeks, and then it was a pretty abrupt that it folded, and they filed for bankruptcy, and players were, stranded and bought their own flights to get home or whatever. It went quick. But one of the co-founders is a guy named Charlie Ebersol, and there's several other big names involved in this, though. Owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, the Colts president, Indianapolis Colts president, Peter Thiel's money, MGM money. I mean, there was and that's one of the things that jumps out at me is just what a huge amount of money and the number of investors involved to get something like this off the ground. Just a lot of risk. And so what's happening now, 6 years later since the league folded, is there's just been ongoing litigation between all of these investors, and a lot of it taking place within the U.S. bankruptcy court. So the big thing that happened this week and kind of why it's hit sports court is this co-founder, Charlie Ebersol, was really cleared of any legal liability and let out of the lawsuit of his liability. And so it's still going to be there's still a lot to unwind this whole thing. When you have tens of millions and really hundreds of millions of dollars at stake between these investors, it's really just a mess. But to your point, Scott, yeah, it's a challenge to get a league like this off the ground, but would love to see it.
Yeah, not many of them have worked. So interesting. All right, Oregon NIL bill marks the latest state challenge to the House settlement.
Yeah, before we jump in, Scott, I'd never even heard of the Alliance of American Football, and we know now that, a lot of these leagues have tried to make it, buyer beware on this. I know that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's got, the United Football League. That seems like they're doing a pretty good job, but don't be surprised if down the road they don't make it. But jumping again on a House issue, and what's happened here is in anticipation of the settlement, a few states, and most recently Oregon, has who's one of the leaders in NIL, no doubt. Their guy Phil Knight and Nike has got a lot of players coming to Oregon simply because they get really great NIL deals. And what Oregon has done is their legislature has entered a bill which wants to challenge the House settlement provision, one of the provisions that says any NIL deal, because right now it's, the House settlement saying that $21 million per school is going to be allocated to players, and there's going to be collectives, at each school that will add to that. And part of the settlement is that any deals outside the House settlement with $600, that's really low, but $600 or more have to be approved. They have to be looked at and decided. And one of the things they're looking at is saying, hey, is this really fair market value? And now Oregon's coming in and saying, wait a minute, that part of the settlement we're going to object to because, how can you really look at this and decide what's fair market value? And what the NCAA is trying to do is they don't want this money being thrown out there to be looked at as pay for play, right? Wink, wink, because, we know that this type of stuff has all been going on. So, it's kind of a mess. And so the NCAA, certain things could happen. The NCAA could seek legislation addressing this issue. And the NCAA, this would be crazy because the NCAA is always on our list of sports court, but they could sue these states, saying that, all these players have agreed to this stuff. There's an overwhelming agreement, and they could sue the states saying, hey, these are the terms of it. Kids agreed to it, and we want it. So we'll see what happens, how these states, who are separate from the NCAA, how they can get these bills in place.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating because the subjectiveness of, what is your name, image, and likeness really worth? It's hard to say. It's really worth whatever someone's willing to pay. I think so.
Yeah, it's a negotiated contract, right?
Yeah.
It's a negotiated contract where parties agree to the terms.
Yeah. So, fascinating stuff. All right, we got to jump out here. Thanks for hopping on. There's sports court right there. Let's go play some basketball, Preston. I know you're still good, so appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
Scott,
you.
Thanks for having us on. We love coming on here. Everybody can get to us at handylawutah.com or give us a call at 801-264-6677.
All right, there you go. Call them up. Thanks, guys. All right, before we jump out right here, we've got we have Michelle. We're out at Overtime Cards and Collectibles here in Sandy, 106th and 73 South State Street in Sandy. Of course, you guys are the premier trading card destination. You have rare sports memorabilia and cards and singles and slabs and all kinds of stuff. You have Pokemon cards, and you even buy and sell cards for people.
We do bring in different collections from individuals out in the community that we'll bring in. We'll take a look at it, see if it's something that fits the needs of the store, maybe other customer needs and wants, and bring those into the store.
Well, I've got some. I'm going to bring them out. Seriously, I got probably about 10,000 cards. So this is really exciting. It's a very cool place. Come down here. You can actually sign up with a QR code to the ESPN 700 and ESPN The Fan $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Also enter to win a $100 gift card here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. So come down. A lot of folks here. It's really exciting. You guys have events. You have your RIP desk, which is really cool. I got to do that earlier. That was really fun. What are some of the events and things that you usually typically have here?
We typically have anything from athlete signings here on site to different parties and trade nights. Trade nights typically consist of our community hobby collectors bringing in their cards and trading with each other.
Oh, how fun is that?
Yeah, that can be sports cards or Pokemon cards or other gaming cards as well.
How do you know how do you trade? Like do you have to go, I'll give you 2 of these for one of those? Is that typically how it is? You kind of barter you got to give something up to get something else? Or?
Sometimes there is some bartering that goes on, but typically what people are after is they may have something what they call part of their personal collection, what they like to collect. And, they'll be talking with other collectors. They may see something that they like. They may have something that individual likes, and then they'll come to an agreement to make a trade. Very
cool. Thank you for having us today here, Michelle. It's just an awesome place. You need to come check it out. It's Overtime Cards and Collectibles, 10673 South State Street here in Sandy. If you want to buy something, you want to sell something, you want to have a great party you've had bachelor party, you've had all kinds of parties, birthday parties, you've had fantasy football draft part. I mean, you name it. It's a great place to do it. So come check them out here. Overtime Cards and Collectibles. We're about done here, but you doesn't mean you can't stop by. All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
We're going to check out here for a minute. This is ESPN 792.1 FM. This is The Drive with Spence Checketts. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence. We're here at Overtime Cards and Collectibles. It's just been so much fun. It's Utah's premier place for trading cards, rare memorabilia, 10673 South State in Salt Lake City here. Come buy your cards, get them evaluated, sell them, go. You have parties, rip parties, just a really, really fun time. A great thing to be involved in. It really is. We just enjoyed the folks out here. They've just been wonderful. So Michelle and Chris are the owners, and they've been awesome here. I actually opened a card for $300. So it's been a fun show, great show. Tomorrow we are at the home show at the Mountain America Convention Center. There in we're just down the street actually here from where we were today on State Street. So come by and say hello. We're going to be at the Culligan Water booth. We're going to learn that all water is not the same. So got a great guest list. Porter's going to tell you all about it, but really enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in. And until then, we will see you then.